Love lives here.
All right, so this morning we've moved into the month of November, which means that we're moving into a new theme for the month, and the new theme for the month is home. So how about we do our focus statement with H's today? All right, H's. Harmony, happiness, happy, hope, holiness, honesty, hilariously, honorably, hallelujah. Yes, not just hallelujah, but hallelujah. All right. Okay, are we ready? We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. Absolutely. That is what we are here about at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. And as I mentioned, we have started a new month, so we started a new theme. But this year, the entire theme for the year is Living Everyday Wonder. And we are looking at different aspects of our lives throughout the year, and each month we are focusing on a different aspect of our lives, and we've focused on finances, and we've focused on physical well-being, we've focused on our emotions, we've focused on nature, and so this month, I've already said it several times, we are focusing on home, the aspect of what we consider and what we call home. So that is where we are headed this morning and this month. Sound good? Yes. Woohoo! So today I called the talk title, Home is Where the Heart Is. Home is where the heart is. So when I was younger, 55 is not old. So when I was younger, as a child, my father was an officer in the United States Army. And so we moved every 3 years for a long time. Well, Michelle and I were kids. But within each 3-year period that we moved, we also moved at least once within that because he kept getting promoted, and so we went from one type of housing to another type of housing or what have you. So until I was 23 years old, I never had a single address longer than 2 years. Then when I moved to Japan, I was in Japan for a year before I moved again, and then I stayed finally in that home, in that house, for 5 years, and that was my longest residence, my longest address, until we lived in Las Vegas, and I bought the house in Vegas, and then that house was 9 years. So, I'm 55. That's a lot of moves. And Michelle has me beat, but because she has moved even more than I have. What I learned through all of this moving and, moving houses, moving locations, moving places, moving communities, shifting and moving was, one, I learned not to accumulate a whole lot of stuff, because after a few certain moves, you're like, I am not moving this again, right? So that was really helpful. I also learned how to interact and to connect with people quickly and deeply in that time period, because we would be there, we'd connect, and so I developed deep connections. But what I felt through that whole time is, because of so much change and going, what there felt to me was this lack of stability. So my sense of home really wasn't about the place that I was at, the house that I was in, the residence I was in, or even the city where we were, or the town where we were. It wasn't about that. What it was really about for me, the sense of home, was being with my family. And even more so, that sense of home meant my maternal grandparents, because they lived in Houston for a long time. And then in 1977, they moved to Southern California, and then they were in that house. My grandmother passed away in that house. My grandfather later moved in with my parents in Hawaii, but that was it. I mean, in my lifetime, they moved once. So for me, home was where my grandparents were. And what I recognize now, looking back, is that how I was really defining home was, and how I think of home is, home isn't so much a place, it isn't so much a building, it isn't so much a house or any kind of residence or even a geographic area of the planet, though that's possible. Home is really a feeling. When you think about home, perhaps, your fireplace comes to mind or what have you. But when you think about home, what is it that really you begin to feel when you hear that word home? What does that really mean to you? For me, home is really a sense of belonging. It's a sense of feeling loved. Does this sound familiar to you folks, or am I just like the only one? Okay. It feels like joy. Perhaps it feels like peace or sanctuary. It feels, home for me, feels like stability. It feels like safety. It feels like shelter. It feels like sanctuary. Any other words? It feels like comfort. What other words are evoked within you when we hear this word home? Peace. You online can answer too, my beloveds. What else do you feel when you think of home, when you feel home? Safe. Rest. Happy. A place to recharge. Love. Home cooking. All right, there you go. Unless I got to be the one to have to do it. Michelle O'Brien says, my parents and grandparents are gone, but home for me is wherever I can be with any of my children and grandchildren. When I got here, my daughter said, welcome home. That's beautiful. Quiet, secure are other words. Maria Sneed says quiet, and Patty Clark says secure. Absolutely. So home then, would you agree then, is a feeling. It's a sense of a feeling. It is that feeling of comfort, that feeling of peace, that feeling of love, that feeling of joy, right? So when we say home then is where the heart is that feeling organ. It's the organ that we associate with our feelings most, would you say? And so home, then, when we listen to those words of peace, love, joy, source, rest, comfort, those sound a lot to me like words for what? God. Spirit. The living spirit within each and every one of us. The internal spirit, the one, the only, the inseparable, the one life that is within each one of us. And where do we experience that still small voice, that indwelling presence, but in the chamber, in that sacred organ, in that chamber that we call, or the chamber, the room, that sense of space, that sense of place that we refer to as our heart space, right? When we have a close connection with our divine, when we experience the divine presence, yes, we might feel it throughout our entire body, but what we tend to associate that with is we tend to feel that right in that heart space. Would you agree? So home then really is a feeling or a sense of the divine spirit within each one of us. That is how I'm choosing to define home this morning, because when I sit in the holy silence, like Jeff was singing about, when I sit in that holy silence, communing, entering into conscious union with the one power, the one presence, the one love, the one joy, the one peace, when I enter into that and I align with that, What I'm really experiencing is a state of freedom. I'm experiencing a state of bliss. I'm experiencing a state of, oh my gosh, everything is okay. That security, that stability. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling this love that I can't explain. I'm feeling this peace that passes all understanding. I'm at home within myself. I'm at home with Spirit. So home is never further than where I am. In fact, wherever I go, if I remember, I take home with me. So I might be in a new environment. I might be in a new residence. I might be in a new place. I could be in Vaughn's picking up the anniversary cake, right, yesterday. And home is right there within me, beating my chest, beating my heart. And I don't have to take any thought for it because it's already been given to me. I don't have to worry about it. I'm secure in that knowledge. I'm secure in my faith that right where I am, home is, Spirit is, love is, joy is, the presence is. So it was really interesting. Yesterday, I was picking up the cake for the 80th, which was delicious, and we may have some leftover. I don't know. So I haven't gotten my corner piece yet, so I'm hoping there's a corner. Anyway, when I was picking up the cake, the young man behind the counter, he had a really cool name, Jeff. I was like, hey, I like your name. He's like, oh, thanks. I said, it's my name too. And he goes, R-E-Y or E-R-Y? I'm like, R-E-Y, of course. We spell it correctly? He was like, yes. And Jeffrey Rika does too. So at any rate. And so he was looking at the cake, and of course the cake said, celebrating 80 years of love, Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. And he goes, are you the owner of the company? And I said, no. And I said, we are a spiritual organization. He's like, oh, kind of like a church? I'm like, yeah, kind of like a church. And he goes, well, are you affiliated with this is this? I'm like, no, actually, we're not. And he's like, oh, well, because I see spiritual. I'm like, huh? And then he started asking more about what it is that we do. And so I was sharing with him that we draw on all of the world's faith traditions. We've looked for the golden thread of truth. And so we draw from Christianity and from Judaism and from Buddhism and from Hinduism and from Sikhism and from all these different faith traditions, these world traditions around these world traditions. And he's like, wow, that sounds really cool. I got my AA in theology. And I really thought Buddhism was really fascinating and Judaism was really fascinating and how there's the divine negative and I'm like, dude, we are just having a chat right here as you're rolling my cake to my car. And so there I am with this young man, also named Jeff, wheeling a cake to the car, being and feeling in the presence of home. Because there, both of us were meeting. The divine in me was meeting the divine in him, and we were having this extraordinary conversation. He's like, that place sounds really cool. Where is it? I said, above the tennis courts at Fairmount Park. He's like, you know what? I think I'm going to come and check you guys out at some point. I'm like, we would love to have you. So you never know, right? When you're just at home in yourself and feeling that home and welcome home and being home within yourself, you never know how much that generosity, that hospitality that we call love spreads out into the world. Think of it too, when you have somebody come and visit your home, who you've invited. Just saying. Don't we usually say something to the effect of, welcome, make yourself at home? Because what we're doing is we're welcoming them not only into our physical space that we have created to be our physical sanctuary, but we are also welcoming them into our heart space. We are creating an opening in our being. We are creating a receptivity in our being to welcome them into our lives, if only temporarily. And it is when we are at home with one another, when we experience our home life, home being the way we've defined it as love and joy and peace and harmony, when we are sharing our space with another human or four-leggeds or two-leggeds or slithery things or scaly things or swimmy things, whatever, when we are sharing that, or a plant, when we are sharing that with another life form of some sort, right? There is this beautiful exchange of energy that happens. And there's this beautiful opportunity to really go deeper and to really express and experience the love that is the divine, to express and experience the peace that is the divine, to express and experience the joy that is in the divine, because we are in relationship with another life form of some sort. Except mosquitoes. And flies, maybe, yeah. Cockroaches. Okay. Anyway, they're all God creatures too, serving some purpose, though I don't know what. And I don't need to know. Just stay out of my house. But we are in this holy communion. We are at home with one another. We are at home with each other. We are at home with this. And then we get to experience that love of the divine, that peace of the divine at an even deeper level. Because we are now not just experiencing the divine in here, but now we are interacting with it here as well. When we think of home, though, and we think of a house or we think of a home, and we are searching and seeking and looking for a sense of home, a sense of belonging, a sense of something, when we are outside, when we are seeking outside and we are seeking the answers, or we are seeking the connections, or we are seeking something outside of ourselves, then what we're really doing is we're building our home, we're building our house on a house of sand. Because what that is we are projecting and we are making the material world, we are making this thing that this time frame, everything has come to pass, meaning everything will pass, right? Everything must come to an end at some point. If we are constantly seeking outside to find external validation, to find external love, to find external, thinking that all of our answers are outside of ourselves, thinking that everything is outside, then what we've done is we've built our house on sand. And so the minute there is a storm in our life, Santa Ana winds start blowing, or rains come in off the coast, right? The sand begins to wash away and the foundation under our feet begins to erode, right? And then we spiral down into something else. However, my beloveds, when we build our house, when we build our home, when we establish our home on the firm rock of foundation that is the internal, that is your internal connection with Spirit, your internal awareness that you are Spirit made manifest right where you are, the power and the presence of God is always. When we focus there, then we build our home, we build our house, we build on solid rock, on solid foundation. And so when the winds blow, the Santa Ana winds blow, and the heavy rains in an El Nino year hopefully soon come, right? That we stand strong, we stand firm, because we know that we have built on this internal sense of home, on this internal awareness of the divine, on this internal acknowledgement of the power and the presence. Yes? So, my beloveds, this week, I really want you to ponder, consider, think about, meditate upon your sense of home, your sense of belonging, your sense of joy. Where do you find that? How do you experience that? With whom do you share that? So that is part of your charge for this week, to really deepen into and feel that sense of home here within you. And also notice where you feel most at home. Because I will say there are places on the planet that I feel more at home than other places on the planet. Of course, you know Hawaii, my home, is one of them. And it is home in such a way that it is a place where I feel very connected to spirit. It is a place where I feel very connected to love. It is a place where I feel connected and whole within myself in a way that Las Vegas never did when I lived in Las Vegas. I had a home, and I considered the home that I was in home. It was my sanctuary. It was my space. It provided comfort and joy and peace and an opportunity of owning my own home and painting the walls any color I wanted. It was fabulous, right? It's for creativity. But Las Vegas as a whole, that place as a whole, never quite felt like home. So I would say that there are places on the planet where we do feel more connected to spirit, for sure. I'm not denying that. But even when we're not in that sacred place, it doesn't mean that we are not at home. And so it is. So this week, I also invite you to write a letter. Okay, silence so far. Handwrite a letter. Okay, there's a little more rumble. What I invite you to do this week really is to handwrite a letter to one person or a couple of people who always made you feel at home. It could be, a parent, a grandchild, a friend, whomever. But write a letter to one person, and if this person is no longer with us on this plane of existence, that is absolutely fine. It doesn't matter. But what I would like for you to do is I'd like for you to write a letter, handwrite a letter of gratitude, expressing your deep, rich gratitude for the love of this person, that for the way that this person helped you experience that sense of home, of belonging, of love, of peace. And if the person is still with us and you have their address and you feel like it, go ahead and mail it to them. What a wonderful thing to receive in the mail as opposed to all the junk that we get, The air conditioning repair guy, solicitations or what have you, right? The penny saver, whatever, right? How nice it would be to receive a letter. And if this person isn't still with you on this plane of existence, then I invite you to fold it and keep it someplace safe for you so that you can go back and you can revisit it anytime you're feeling like, I just need a little extra, today. And save that for yourself. Okay? So that is your tool for this week. All right, I invite our practitioners and our core council members to please stand and surround the sanctuary. All right. So these and I invite our core council members. Yes, you're there too. You knew exactly. Absolutely. All right. Wonderful. So these beloveds, our practitioners and our core council members, are in prayer for this beloved community every single day, lifting this community high in love and prayer. So I invite us all to come together in consciousness and invite you to close your eyes if you are willing and able, and let's just come together. So right here and right now, I recognize that I am home, that right where I am, the power and the presence of love is, because there is only one power, one presence, one life, one eternal being that is expressing itself in, through, and as all of creation, as all of life itself. In fact, I am inseparable from it. There is no place that I can be that spirit is not. I am one with this one. I am one with this life, and it lives, moves, breathes, and has its being in, through, and as me, and I as it. So right where I am, love is, joy is, presence is, power is, peace is. And as I know that this is true of me, I know that this is true of each one gathered here this day. That each one is one with the one, that the power and the presence, the one life lives within each one. The one life expresses through and as each one. Each one is a divine emanation, impartation, a manifestation of this one life, this one love. And as I know that this is true of each one gathered, I know that this is true of the community, and I know that this is true of all of life, of all of creation. For there truly is just this one life. And so I speak my word here and now for this beloved community, Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, and all who call it home, all who call it a place of sanctuary, all who have ever walked through these doors, who have walked through these doors perhaps for the first time today, and for all those who walk through the doors of this community in generations to come. I claim a sense of peace. I claim a sense of belonging. I claim a sense of connection. I claim a deep knowing of the power and the presence of the one life, of the power and the presence of the one love, of the power and the presence of the one peace, of the power and the presence of the one joy that is all, through all, as all. And so I say, welcome home. Welcome home to my sense of self. Welcome home to the higher self. Welcome home to the awareness of who and what we truly are. Welcome home to a place, a community of love. Welcome home to joy. Welcome home to peace. Welcome home. And so I give thanks for this sense of oneness. I give thanks for the peace, the love, the joy that beats my heart, the presence, the life that beats my heart and the heart of each one, recognizing that I am always home in my heart. I give thanks for this. I release this word now, knowing it is done, knowing it is so. And I let it be, and so it is.
Love